Welcome to another throwback episode of Art Pays Me, where we throw back to 2023 when I hosted the Art Movement exhibition. On the final episode of this series, I chat with Beverly McKay. Okay, next we got Beverly. So, how would you? I'll get you explain. I like to ask people their full name because I tend to do the whole whatever nickname thing or mispronounce things sometimes. So I'll let you say your name.
Hi, I'm Beverly McKay.
Beverly McKay. Where are you from?
Canada. I grew up across the country because my father was in the military, and since then I've moved a lot along with my husband.
All right, so you're basically that's a good answer. I'm from Canada. You're from everywhere. So you were actually one of the first people that submitted. So, and your pieces are actually almost directly on theme of this whole Salsa Bachata festival that we're going on. Are you a dancer in any way?
No, I'm a former athlete, so I do have an idea of movement and motion. I had these framed because they were shown earlier with the Contemporary Art Society of Nova Scotia, this spring. So they were framed and ready to go for you.
Sweet, gotta love that, right? Oh man. Are you a member of any of the other associations like Visual Arts Nova Scotia or anything like that?
Not really, no. I follow them on Instagram, but yeah, no.
Huh. So, how do you stay on top of stuff locally? Because that's one thing I've been trying to work on, staying on top of when there are open calls and things like that.
I think there used to be somebody who did a website, and it was blow by blow what was most recent, at the top, and that seems to have disappeared. So since then I've gone on Instagram and I've been updating my LinkedIn account, looking for illustration work and just trying to find out where these things are. So that's kind of it.
Sweet. So actually we talked earlier, you talked about your science background. Do you have discomfort with calling yourself an artist?
Yes, I am an illustrator. I am not creative. I'm an illustrator. I can really accurately depict what is there and make people look at things that they might not have noticed in the natural world, but I don't think I'm an artist.
You know what? I'm going to push back a little bit. I believe you are an artist. However, I do know what you're saying because I remember working on a resume with my mother-in-law at one point, and she was like, you got to put that you're creative in there, because I was looking for a design job. I'm like, honestly, I'm not creative. I need a client to tell me what to do, and then I make it happen. So I know what you mean. But these particular pieces, they don't seem like they came from anything that is outside of, I don't know, they don't seem rudimentary to me. They seem to me like they came from a passionate place.
We saw the flamenco show in Seville, and I was very struck by it, the music and rhythm, and actually the whole atmosphere of the club we were in. And I was experimenting with ink at the time, and so these came about it. These are numbers 3 and 4. There was 1 and 2 that were not as successful, and there's other ones that followed. They were less successful. And then this particular type of watercolor paper that they're done on, I ran out, and it was like, oh, that's a sign that this series is going to stop. And I've recently looked for it, and it's not even available anymore. So there you go.
And you don't typically work this you said you typically work more detailed.
Yes,
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, you can see my artwork on paper nautilus illustrations on Instagram, and it's mostly, a lot more detailed than this.
Did you so I have maybe 1 or 2 pieces where I did sort of a similar thing, but with acrylic, and just very quickly put down some, a wash and painted it like it was a watercolor. And I loved it. Did you feel an sort of excitement and freedom with this?
Yes, actually at about this time in my life, I had the option to quit art and go to Britain and do library science. And I was working on a project at the time, and I sort of had my head down and just no, this is what I want to do. And I was in the flow, I guess, of the moment. But yeah, it's just, I don't want to become a librarian. I want to do this. So I went to Britain and did a degree in scientific and natural history illustration, which was a good marriage of art and science for me.
Nice. I have a friend who actually, he's a medical illustrator, and he's like kind of got that both medicine and science and art all mixed together. It's very fascinating. And I work in a medical school, and I actually think a lot of the researchers and scientists are artists.
A lot of scientists, well, actually, you can't be a scientist without being creative. You have to be creative. You have to be thinking of how to design the next experiment so you find something new. So that's really the hard part, I think, other than getting funding for it. But yeah, I don't do medical illustration. I don't do humans usually in paintings. I like the natural world, animals, plants, bones, shells, whatever, and landscapes. But they are two actually different fields: medical illustration or natural history illustration. So.
Right. Cool. So, Beverly, you mentioned your Instagram. Is there anywhere else that people can find you? Actually, I forgot. I didn't ask you the most important question that I asked everyone else. Art and movement, what does that mean to you?
Art and movement. Actually, as a former athlete, I think that they are very closely intertwined. And an athlete or a dancer who's in the flow or at the peak of performance, that's very artistic and beautiful to watch. You should have heard us hollering at the TV at the World Cup games this last while, actually in the men's ones earlier on. When it's beautiful, it's because it's art and movement together. So yes.
Oh, I love that answer. I love that. I love that you threw in the sports too as art, because that's something that I see too. I hate when people kind of like put them on different ends of a spectrum. I see them very similar.
It's like when it's good athleticism is beautiful to watch. It's beauty in its own right. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So Beverly, how do people find you online? How do they find your work?
Other than the Instagram site or I guess LinkedIn, that's it. I don't have a website, so sorry.
All good. So we will have links to those important places, and folks, please have a look at the work. It's awesome, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Art Pays Me. Hit me up on socials at Art Pays Me pretty much everywhere, and let me know what you think. I love connecting with listeners. If you're an artist looking for clothes that speak to the creative lifestyle, check out artpaysme.com. Peace.